Dr. McKellar, I think I mentioned to you that we are recording this and we'll be on YouTube and Facebook.
Great. We are recording now.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. My name's Marilyn Wills, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Tyler, Smith County. And this is the second of our Coffee With series. It's a new Zoom series that we're having with local elected officials. And it's an opportunity for us to visit with them and ask them some questions. And we are so pleased today to have Dr. Shirley McKellar with us. She's a Tyler City Councilwoman. And so we're going to be visiting with her. And I wanted to let you know who from the League will be asking questions. We have LaRhonda Hamilton. She's a director on the board. Maggie Ruelle, she's a director on the board. We have Rubye Kendrick, and Rubye is the Vice President of Programs for the League. And then Dr. Tammy Burnette is Vice President of Voter Services, and she's managing the Zoom for us today. So that's who the League people are, but we're really interested in Dr. McKellar today. We want to just chat with you, and thank you for being here, and thank you also for being a supporter of the League over the years. We appreciate that very much. Now, are we ready to get started?
I am ready.
Okay.
I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. I have my tea right here.
Okay. So as you know, Dr. McKellar, one of the League's really priorities is to help people in our community understand who represents them, how their government works, and how they can actually have a voice in that government. So that's kind of the conversation we want to have with you today, but we'll also have some very specific to your area questions that have been proposed by League members. So I'm going to get started and ask you briefly to share how your role as a city councilwoman allows you to impact Tyler's COVID crisis. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you. First, Madam President, and to all the board, I want to say thank you for this great opportunity. Anything that I can do to educate and assist in our community, and particularly women in our community, in particular the League of Women Voters, I am 100% in for that.
Okay.
To begin with, COVID back in March of 2019, we actually, well, let me back up. 2020, we actually knew about a little bit about COVID-19 in the latter part of 2019. So the task force was formulated here in Tyler, Texas, led by our fire chief, David Cobo, and along with the city council persons, the county, and all different agencies and entities that serve here in Tyler, Texas, as well as throughout Senate District 1 and the 16 counties that are underneath Net Health. I was able to work on that particular task force. I felt really right in place, right at home, simply because my background is medical. As many of you know, I'm retired United States Army nurse and a clinician. So I was able to work hand in hand with our task force here. I received several phone calls from case managers at the hospitals, our local hospitals here in Tyler, and they were really short of masks at the onset, as many of you already know. So I pulled together about 15 women, and we bought fabric, we bought panty liners, and we bought coffee filters, and we made 1,200 masks and disseminated it out to the 2 hospitals here in Tyler, Christus Mother Francis and UT Health now Medical Center. A lot of people know it by that name. And so we were able to disseminate those masks out to them because I kept getting the phone call saying, you have been a case manager before, you know what it's like. And we're using masks over and over and over. So that was our beginning of really helping Tyler, as well as many others who found out actually about our project and called us and say, I want to donate, I want to help. So women got busy in helping to make sure that our nurses, our physicians, and all of those that were working in the hospital was protected, because it actually took us 9 weeks to get our supplies from China. So that was the beginning. And then, of course, as we progressed into COVID-19, I do 3 radio shows per week. So I was able to disseminate information out, not only to the people in my district, which is District 3, but I was able to give the information out all across Tyler, all across East Texas, all across the nation, because as I mentioned, and thanks to my friend who is also military, Dr. LaRhonda Hamilton, but I am involved in military installations throughout the nation and abroad. So I was able to get that information all across the United States of America and into other countries. That was my beginning with COVID-19. Fast forward now that we're into the vaccines, so I'm able to make sure that the people, I'm just going to say the people of color, Black and brown people who sometimes are at the back of the bus when it comes to healthcare, making sure that they know and that if they want to get the vaccine, that they're able to get that vaccine.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Now,
yes,
I think Rubye has a question for you.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Rubye.
Good afternoon. Dr. McKellar, I apologize. I'm sitting in my car because I didn't make it back in from Palestine, but hey, whatever means necessary, we make it work. But
that's right.
My question is, I understand there's an area in your district called Four Corners at Loop 323 and Gentry Parkway, I believe. And I also understand that Four Corners is really a hotbed for human trafficking and criminal enterprise. And many of them are young girls who are runaways, underage, and girls of color, actually. What are you doing to end that slave trade and child abuse?
That is an excellent question. Thank you for that, Ms. Kendrick. As a matter of fact, prior to my going on to council, I actually was involved in a agency here in Tyler who works directly with human trafficking. And I call it modern day slavery because that's exactly what it is. And so it just transcends me over into the Four Corners. And you're exactly correct. We have an area here in Tyler at Highway 69 and Loop 323. And what that Four Corners means is that there are 4 different corners that house hotels. And some of them are, well, they're low income hotels. And so there is a lot of human trafficking, drug trafficking that's right there. And so when I first came on the council, I made a trip over to a specific one of those hotels. There's 2 of them that are back to each other, introduced myself to them. And I said to them, if in fact that we don't clean up this corner, if in fact that you don't stop what's happening in your hotels, because you do know that these things are happening, I will make sure that your hotel gets shut down, because these are young girls, runaways, as you mentioned, that they need a safe haven, they need food, they need education. These are the things that we as a community have to reach out and make sure that we take care of and that we're not doing right now. And then we have to get those parents involved who these children are runaways. And sometimes they don't let the community know that their children have run away. So that's an issue as well, because the police department has to be involved. I went with the police department. I didn't go alone because I believe in safety first. And so we went to talk to them, and maybe it has improved. I'm not sure, but we don't see as much traffic. But I also requested that our chief of policemen would send more patrolmen over there to make sure that that area is patrolled. And thank you for that question. It's excellent.
Thank you. Maggie, do you have one?
Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon, Dr. McKellar.
Afternoon, ma'am.
So my question for you is, what procedures have you put into place or have you facilitated to involve residents in the decision-making process for our city?
Excellent question. I like that one as well. it's really important for the people in the community to know that their voice is important as well. When I campaigned, that was one of the primary things that I did, was to host town hall meetings. As I mentioned, I've done radio since 1972. I actually did military radio, did civilian radio. So every single week I would talk to the citizens to say, what is your interest? What would you like to see happen in this community? How can we work together as a team? And so when we reach out to the public and let them know that their voice is important, because I actually am just wanting to be their voice. I'm only just representing them, but they're the real chiefs. They're the real ones who actually are experiencing certain issues that they want me to change. And so that's what I do. I make sure that their voice is important. And I will have an office. This is something that no other city council person has ever done in the history of City of Tyler. I have actually secured a house, a building, and I'm working on getting that building together, because I want people to be able to find me, not scattered all around, that they can call this specific office, or they can call me and say, I want to schedule an appointment to come and sit down and talk to you. Not only that, I'm out there in the midst of my community. I'm down in the downtown areas. I'm all over the place. So I'm no stranger to this community. As a matter of fact, I was born and bred in this community.
Let me have a follow-up to that, because when we talked to the mayor, we asked him a little bit about how the city council works with the mayor. And he was saying at the meetings, you don't have an opportunity to come forward and present a question or a thought or a concern, because they don't have an open mic. So are you suggesting that the best way to let people know what's going on, let our city council know what's going on, is to contact you directly as a city council person and express what the concern is?
Yes, well, that part as well. And I make sure that my information is disseminated out there to all of my constituents. But you can also go through our communications department. And once you go to Tyler, City of Tyler Communications Department, then they'll disseminate that information out to us. But that's one of the things that I'd like to see changed. People should be able to voice things. And I know that we're very limited on the time. We're there twice a month to have actual city council meetings. But people have a wrong misconception of actually what city council does. And the reason why I say that is because most people say, well, you go there and you have a meeting twice a month and then you vote on things and then we don't see you again. Well, I don't ever want my constituents to say they don't see me again. And so that is why I had to think outside of the box to say, I want to have an office. And I mentioned to the city of Tyler that we should actually have a space where people can come and schedule a meeting. We don't have that space. I decided I'm going to make my own space. And so that's why I secured a building.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. LaRhonda?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, City Councilwoman and my sister in arms.
That's right. Thank you, ma'am.
How will you and the City Council support police officers as they face the most challenging law enforcement environment in our lifetime, in terms of maintaining and building trusting relationships with the community and with race relations?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I have spoken with the chief about and the law enforcement and the city of Tyler is getting back to community policing. The one thing that I can tell you is that I have a specific police officer and I call her name out. I want everybody to know Officer Tish Powell. And so that's who's called into my community when things happen. And so she knows exactly who the troublemakers are, so to speak, you know, who the people are who may be involved in drugs and criminal enterprise. And so I think that it's really important that the community knows who their person is, who their officer is. And if they in fact do, then I think that we could cut down on a lot of the racial issues that perhaps that people don't know. Well, this person really does not create a problem in our community. So I don't have to be concerned about spending a lot of time patrolling around their area, but this person over here causes a little of trouble every now and then again. And it may be not that this person is a troublemaking person. I don't want to imply that, but they may have some difficulties in their lives that have to call the policeman out periodically. For example, domestic violence. That happens quite a bit. That's a very strong issue that happens in our community. That's one that we haven't addressed much because that's usually centered around mental illness. Racism, I too say, is probably centered around some mental, maybe some areas where we need to pull away from. Racism is a strong thing that's still consistent in our community, in our country. And until all of us really address that, and let me just say that my brothers and sisters of the Caucasian persuasion need to join in with us strongly and address that issue. And so I have a lot of friends that we dialogue and talk about it a lot. And so we've been able to handle a lot of issues in and I don't want to get political, but in our political party that I am affiliated with, and most of all of us are affiliated with political parties, but we discuss these things and we discuss what happened post George Floyd. But what I said to them is that I can give you lots of other people to include Sandra Bland, and the name goes on, the list goes on, Breonna Taylor, we know all of these names, but until we really continue to talk about it, get to know one another, because the more I know about you, the more I can appreciate you and then understand where you are in your race and then where I am in my race, and then we can grow and move forward from that. So I back the blue. And this is what I say to you, my sister in arms, is that when I served in a war and I had to carry weapons on my shoulder, on my hips, when I come home, I don't want to have to do that. I want the police officer to be able to take care of me. And that's where I am. Now, if you come to try to break inside of my home, that's a different story. I may have something prepared for you. But other than that, I back the blue and I want the police officers to take care of me. But I want to have honest police officers that are on our law enforcement. Thank you.
Can I do a little follow-up on that? Is there any formal initiative that the city of Tyler or the county of Smith is tackling along those lines, along racial lines with the police?
That is an excellent question. We actually just finished our retreat 2 weeks ago, and our mayor, which I am so looking forward to working with Mayor Don Warren. He's very progressive. He thinks outside of the box. He actually has formulated at the city a race relations committee, and I will chair that committee.
Wonderful. Okay, yes. Thank you.
So he's thinking about it, and he recognizes and he realizes that we do have an issue, and the only way that we're going to solve it is to work at it together.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yes,
Rubye, I guess we're back to you.
All right. Okay, so my next question is, if you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
Okay, that's a good question as well. The one thing that I know that we have to do, and that is that we cannot have limitations on our zoning. If we're broader in our zone process, and right now we have specific zone codes, but there are other codes out there that we can have. So if we're broader, if we're open more to our zones, then we can have more people that can get involved in the business aspect. I'm a big entrepreneur. My family was entrepreneurs in Tyler, Texas. I came from a family that all worked for themselves. And so if our zoning is broader, then our tax base becomes broader because you have more businesses and you have more home growth, and the whole 9 yards, it just grows from there. So I'm saying that we need to expand our tax, our code, our zoning code, in order to grow more in Tyler.
Okay, Maggie?
Yes. All right, this is, I think, a really fun question because it allows you to dream really big here. So if you received a $1 million grant for the city of Tyler to be used in your district, District 3, however you desire, what projects would you implement and why?
I love that question. And I'm gonna tell you 2 reasons why I love that question. Is because it has actually happened, Miss Meg.
Oh, I love hearing that.
It has actually happened. But what let's just say it had not happened, because you're going to see some things happening in District 3 that has never happened before. Because what I said when I went to City Council is that I want District 3 not to look the same when I leave. And I'm going to make sure that that does not happen. There's going to be growth here. But first, what you have to do is you got to look around your community to see exactly what your community needs. That's really important. And then you have to start incrementally. You can't start with it. I'm sometimes a bottom up, but if it's a mega, very large project that say the community wants to have, and that's the key issue also, is to look out to see what the community, not only do what they need, maybe what they want. Let me use this as an example. 2 Saturdays ago, this is involvement with the community. It was Arbor Day. We planted 40 trees because people all across the community, all across the city, came to my district, Walden Park and the Glass Center, and we planted and worked trees together. Well, we were able to get volunteers. We were able to get people to volunteer to buy the trees. And we even named 3 of the trees from some of our council persons and other elected officials that are no longer with us. But what you would do with that money is start in increments and just see first what the city needs and what your community needs, what District 3 needs, which is everything. District 3 needs a lot. We're working right now, just to let you know, on affordable housing. There's a subdivision called Hidden Palace, which is going to be right across the street from where my office is, right next door to the new fire station there at Palace and Gentry. So the main thing with that $1 million is just look around and see what you need and do it in increments. Don't try to spend all your $1 million at one time. Just work at it until the community grows and you get where you need to be with it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, LaRhonda, you have another one, I think.
Yes, my question is about money as well, but not the $1 million. Are there any plans for budget cuts for law enforcement?
No, our budget has already been voted upon and accepted, and we're all comfortable with that. What I have said is that perhaps we can find some funding in some other areas if we need to get some mental health lessons, diversity lessons. And we have some of that in our police department here. And I believe that we have a good police force here. I haven't had any real complaints about it. Some differences. Some people think that racial profiling still exists. And of course, we've spoken with the chief on those issues, and he's mindful of that. But as far as the budget is concerned, no budget cuts, but I'm looking for a little bit more money to put into some areas that I see that should happen. And it's just preventive, because I believe in preventive medicine. If I do something on the forefront, if I have good health care, take care of myself all along the way, then I don't have to worry about spending a lot of money at the back end because I've taken care of myself along the way. So we want to prevent things from happening that we see happening across this nation.
So let me ask a follow-up question to that. Where does most of Tyler's budget go? I mean, where does the money go in Tyler?
The most of it actually, pays for salaries. It pays for roads that's within our city. It pays for housing. Right now, the big issue that we're working on, or the big project, I should say, that we're working on right now, of course, salaries, you know that, with salaries. And all this money comes from our tax-based money, as you know. But the one thing that we're working on right now is the big HUD building is going to get a new facelift. The reason why it's going to get a new facelift is because, I don't know if you ladies know this, but we really have a real bad homeless problem here in Tyler. That is another reason why I decided to have an actual place where we can work with the veterans, because we worked under the bridge with them every Saturday for a long time, and it really did not change much. But people are now paying a little bit more attention to the homeless, and the fact that we have about 50 or 60 homeless veterans here in Tyler. And so no one should be homeless, because we live in the wealthiest country in the world, and we have lots of money even here in Tyler, Texas. But certainly veterans who have served this country should not be homeless. But keep in mind, no one should be. So the money that we're using right now, back to why we're redoing that building that's located at Gentry Parkway and Palo, is the HUD office, is because stragglers come, and they come in and out, meaning the employees are in and out, and sometimes they're in and out later in the evening time. It's dark time. And so we've had some who have been approached asking for money and just don't know. So for the safety of them, we're going to fix it so they'll have a garage. You know, it used to be a bank. It used to be the Black-owned bank here in Tyler. So there will be a garage so that they don't have to be walking outside at night or when they get off from work, even in the day, in the evening time. People will still approach them. So that's where funding is going to be going right now. But what I did ask for is that I asked for more money in Northwest Tyler, in North Tyler in particular. So many of you may not know this, but we're getting sidewalks because believe this or not, but at TJ Austin, the students, the young students, we're talking elementary kids, they wrote a letter to the city and said, I have to walk in the streets in order to get home. So now they're putting bike lanes, they're putting sidewalks, and this is going to be throughout the city. And that's another large portion of the funding that is going to go across the nation, across Tyler, not just in my district, but across the entire city. And that is bike trails as well as more sidewalks. So okay. That's where a large portion of the money is going.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Rubye has another question.
Yes, last question. There certainly has been a lot of effort put into revitalizing the downtown area. Do you think our main street, downtown Tyler, is healthy and successful? If no, what would you do to change that?
That's an excellent question. You ladies have some amazing questions. I love them. The one thing that you want to look at in your cities is that if you have high traffic, if it's safe, and we're talking about police officers, and we're talking about safety of our community. If your area is safe, if you see people there in the areas, if you see people sitting out, if you see nice benches that people can come just sit on the square. We know we have a new ice cream place and the people are sitting out there. So that is one of the ways that you can tell if your city, your downtown area of your city is productive or not. If you see beautiful trees, I must say that we have a beautiful downtown area. But one of the focuses is, and we just actually, the city of Tyler, along with another entity, got a building downtown so that we're trying to rebuild downtown Tyler. Because actually, if you look at the city, if you look at any city and the downtown area is not thriving, then that city is really not growing. So that's why we backed up to come back into the downtown area, bring some businesses in. And then the other thing that we can do is have little pop-up businesses. I know my friend, Miss Hamilton, actually had a pop-up business downtown periodically, that we would have different shops and different small businesses that would come into the downtown area. That is actually an excellent thing to do. And we should do it more frequently. That would draw people into the downtown area. And there's still enough money that we can get people into the downtown area and they can still shop at the malls if they so choose.
And of course, COVID has impacted everything. So this coming year, hopefully things will move a little bit differently, and some of your wonderful ideas and thoughts about that will come to fruition.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, those are the questions that we wanted to pose to you, but I wanted to find out if you had any last thoughts that you'd like to share with people about how they can either become engaged in their government or ways that they can be a participant, anything that you'd like to share with anyone.
That is excellent. And I love that. And I just wanted to say a couple of more things about COVID as well. And you're absolutely correct. And surprisingly, though, considering how we've had to cut down on restaurants and and having people to come and sit down to eat. What I do like is that one of our persons on our council, Councilman Bob Westbrook, who actually is the president of the Restaurant Association, and they were able to find very innovative ways of continuing to do a little bit. Not all restaurants were able to do this, but a lot of them were. And most people, or a lot of people, I should say, across America really suffered, but we were pretty blessed here in Tyler. We didn't suffer as much. So then back to the question of getting people involved. And I say this all the time, that we have to really, really work hard at getting more people involved. One of my slogans that I use a lot is 20% of the people do 80% of the work. But it takes all of us working together as a team to make this city where we live the beautiful place that it should be. And so I kind of consider myself as a trailblazer, but I want people blazing trails with me. And let me hear their ideas, because I don't just want to push what my thought process is off on the community. But but let me just say once again that I was born and bred in Tyler, Texas, and I have seen the growth of Tyler, and I see Tyler growing in one direction. And I say this it's no secret. I say it all the time at council. I say it all the time on the radio. I just say it because until we grasp it and recognize and really hear what I'm saying and hear what others are saying about the community. I say this to our city mothers and fathers that serve on council. I say, when people drive into our community, when they drive down 69, or they drive wherever they drive 49 and get into the city, but if they come through North Tyler, and North Tyler looks one way, and then they drive into East Tyler, and East Tyler looks one way, but they go south and it looks a different way. It is a reflection on us, our city mothers and fathers, that we're not actually taking care of our entire city. So I want to take care of our entire city. So, and I think that we're going to do that. So there are a lot of things that I could share with you that we're working on, but back to, I'll just kind of tell you this about that $1 million. That's going to be earmarked toward Northwest Tyler. And so Councilman Broderick McGee and I are going to sit down, and we're going to discuss along with Ms. Renessa Wade, and we're going to look at what we really need in our district. And so for those of you ladies who have been following up, when I first came on council quickly, I asked them if we do PIDs in Tyler. And they said, oh no, we don't do those public investment districts. And so now D.R. Hardin out of Dallas, Texas, and we have 528 acres right next to Sam's. There's going to be a PID, a public investment district. Wow. They're going to pay. Yes, it's going to be amazing. You're going to have an office complex. You're going to have a subdevelopment. It's all around the lake. Beautiful area over there next to the Cascades. It's going to be little shops and businesses. But I'm working on 160 acres or so right here on the North Loop. And that's what I'd like to see developed, along with more affordable homes, but not just I don't want District 3 to look like it's a poor district that we just gonna have affordable homes at 1,600 square footage. There are some people like Miss Kendrick who can afford more. I tease her because she lives over in this area in my district. So
thank you for putting that out.
Yeah. I put her on Front Street, but there are some, and the reason why I'm thinking like this, ladies, is because, as you know, we're the medical hub of East Texas, and we got a medical school that's coming. We have all of these physicians that are coming in and doing their clinicals, and so many of them are over here on 271 at the big hospital out there, UT North. And so they don't have to drive all the way back to anywhere. They can drive over here in my district and live in a nice 250,000 to $500,000 if that's what they want, because I don't want this district to look like it's a low income, poor district. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I think we learned a lot from this conversation, and we just appreciate so much that not only you joined us today, but that you are working on the city council, and that it sounds to me like you're working for the benefit of the entire city, not just your district. So we appreciate that very much.
That is absolutely correct. I'll say one more thing. Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
because I say all the time that we're all city council persons and we're to take care of the entire city of Tyler. And let me just thank you once again, Madam President and the board. It was an honor to be with you today. And I look forward to being with you again. And I look forward to your coming back and seeing the different projects that we're working on here in Tyler and the city. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
all right,
everyone. And join us for the next Coffee With.
Bye now.
A bit later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Y'all have a good rest of the day.